Describe your home life.
I stay at home all day long, taking care of the children and my flowers. After my father was so horribly murdered, it's been up to me to pick up the relief checks and make sure the children don't go messing around. None of them have ever been to school before, but I guarantee you they're as smart as anyone in this town. My father taught him, bless his soul, and they don't need any fancy education to survive out here. Thank goodness for those checks, though. As a lady myself, I can't find much work to be done, so they are the only things that keep me and my siblings alive.
How is your life affected by the case?
I can't go anywhere without someone looking at me funny nowadays. It seems all everyone ever think of when they hear my good name is that case. I was taken advantage of by a Negro, and I feel disgusted that someone would try to say otherwise. They're just trying to bring disdain to the Ewells, and I am right glad that my father spat on that Mr. Finch's face. After humiliating me and accusing my father of such wretched things, he deserved it.
What are your views on the current progression of privilege of African Americans?
I am outraged. If people in Macomb ever dare to have the notion that we should let them into our fine community, they have another thing coming. I myself was taken advantage of by a Negro, and they're all the same, you know. Not a single one of them is better than the other. If they're giving me more rights, now where would that leave me? The Ewells would be lower on the pecking order than black folks, and that just ain't right. Things have always been a certain way around here, and changing things would make me a turn for the worse.
Describe how your daily life is affected by interactions with African Americans.
Well, thank goodness for those Jim Crow laws, or else I would have to spend more time with their law than I already do, which is already too much, considering my trauma dealing with them. Would any decent person force a fine young lady like myself to occupy the same room as one of those folks? I would hope not. Besides, you heard what those courts said, separate but equal. We already live close enough to their nest, and if the children were ever to be forced to be in the same building as them, why, I dare say I would cry. It was bad enough asking that poor excuse for a human being to do a little housework for a lady, and then for me to be taken advantage of, for the children to be exposed to their kind. Well, I just don't know what I would do. And as far as the equal part of that, well, let me tell you the thing. Those courts can say whatever they want, but I will go to my grave saying there ain't a black person out there who could ever equal any of us white folk in Macomb, and that's a fact.
Based on the state of current events, what do you feel lies in store for the future?
My future children, those poor souls, will have to deal with them Negroes edging their way into our society. There's already been talk about desegregation, and I just won't have it for my future generations. The laws in place are there for a reason, to keep us separated. And that's all there is to it. My biggest fear is that they'll decide to stay in school, and there I won't have to be a single thing I could do to stop them. In those schools, I hear they plant mighty big ideas in the children's heads about things changing, and that's no good. I wouldn't bear it if one of my own kin were to get in their head that we and those black folks could ever be equal. I just won't have it.
Please describe your daily life and work situation.
I live in Wisconsin with my child Jim, working as a teacher at my son's school. While we are lucky and we can walk to school every day, most of the black children have to travel from far away, from far across town. Desegregation busing being part of the government's plan to overcome racial segregation in schools.
Why did you choose to come to Wisconsin?
After my grandfather's tragic death, our family needed another literate person to help the family, so I was sent off to school. I fell in love with education and continued to finish school against Mama's wishes. But education in Macomb was lacking, and I really wanted to teach, so I moved here to Wisconsin to find a good job and give my boy the education he deserves.
Would you consider yourself close to your mother, both in familial ties or ideology, specifically about race? Why or why not?
Mama doesn't like blacks. Of course, I understand why. Because of the terrible time that she got raped by one. She rarely talks about it. I suppose it was horrible to think about. Aside from that one Negro, none of them have done our family wrong, but Mama still doesn't like them. I've got some of my school that are bused from other places. I can't say I wouldn't want them gone, but they aren't always so bad. Many of my white friends send their children to private schools to get away from the Negroes. If I wasn't teaching at public school, I might have done the same with Jim, but I'd rather keep him with me, where I can keep watch over him.
Do you believe that changing situations and continued integration will help America's school systems?
Despite what Mama says about those people, I don't think integration will be that bad. I went to school with some of them. Mama thinks they're corrupting us, but I don't have much of a problem with them.
What are your views on the ruling of the case Brown versus Board of Education?
I was still in school when Brown versus Board of Education was decided. It didn't affect me for a while because people refused to integrate. I was a little afraid Mama wouldn't let me continue school because blacks would be there, but I begged her and she didn't make me leave. But she wasn't happy about it. Going to school with them is why I'm teaching them right now. The blacks in school got bullied by other kids, and I felt bad but never tried to help them. Now I feel bad, so I make sure the blacks at my new school are never bullied while I'm with them.
Please describe your daily life and work situation.
After being raised in Wisconsin my entire childhood, I decided to move to Virginia because there are more job opportunities there. There I became a doctor for Flint County's hospital and I love my job. Every day I wake up to see an entire spectrum of people. Helping so many people lets me understand that despite our differences, we are all really the same.
How do you think your ideologies differ from previous generations within your family?
Since then, one huge change has happened, and it's how other races have integrated into our society. Back in the 30s, my family wasn't as accepting of African Americans and were pretty much sick about it. Racism was very prevalent in my family, but as time went on, they slowly became part of our society, and now they are as equal as any white man is. Times have changed, and with it, so have our views of equality. Looking back, it's hard to believe that my mother, my grandmother, and I all came from the same family.
What has changed in the civil rights movement since your childhood in the 70s?
So much has changed since the 70s that I wouldn't be able to describe all of it. The civil rights movements have allowed so many different changes in our society. All of the prejudice seem to be releasing at a fast pace. One of the first changes we see is in the judiciary system. In 1967, our first African-American Supreme Court Justice, Thurgood Marshall, is appointed. Then African-American singers like Michael Jackson become so popular and changed the music industry. African-American basketball players like Michael Jordan become some of the best players of all time and make history. Then in 1995, a case called Adirondack Construction versus Penna comes along and decides that all federal programs that classify people by race, no matter what purpose, is to be presumed unconstitutional. We see a major change, and finally, after decades, the first black president appears and commands the presidency better than some of our past presidents.
If you could say one thing to someone who lived in the 30s, what would you say?
I would like to tell them that there is a major change. Their entire way of life will all be part of the past, and a new age comes where racism and prejudice toward other peoples will have faded significantly. It's not acceptable anymore to judge a person by their skin color. All people, no matter what skin color or race, join hands and help each other.
Hi, Mama.
Don't hi Mama me. You left me all my own forms of education in the North. People in the North don't think like us.
Times have changed, Mama. It's not 1935 anymore.
The prejudice against others doesn't make sense. The civil rights movement and the progression of African American equality proves that.
And who are you to tell me so?
I'm your grandson, and your views are outdated. I know it was hard for you back then, but times have changed.
You corrected me, Nancy. She doesn't understand what I've been through. Just don't.
It was hard for me too, Mama. But I think it's time for you to accept that black people are just as good as white people.
I won't hear it. I told you, Nancy. I told you that when it comes to corrupt your little mind. And now you're calling your own mother a liar.
It's not like that, Mama. Please calm down.
My own family turned against me for some Negro folks. Yeah, I see how things have changed around here. Those black people are higher up on the pecking order than me, and people treat me like I'm a lying piece of dirt. Ain't no you will ever been called a lying piece of dirt. I just won't have it.
Isn't that how you treated the African Americans in your own time? Didn't you look down on them even if they were no different from you?
Mama, please, just listen. Just give people a chance and you'll see.
My own kin, my own children. I won't have it. I won't.